Hey guys, welcome back to Passion for the Wild and Wonderful. I'm Chris Ashley. Today what I want to do is go over just some basic calls on the slate. And what I'm doing here is I've got, for example, a Quaker Boy double face, glass on one side, slate on the other. And then I also have a Primo's purple haze that I'd actually bought for my kids that they occasionally play with and use. But what I'm going to do is just show you how I normally prepare my call before I go out in the woods, as well as just some basic calls such as a cluck, a tree yelp, standard yelp, purr, maybe some cutting, and those will be just the basic calls. Now I'm not going to teach you or go over call strategy. I'm just going to go over the basics of how to prep the call and how to complete some of the basic calls. So what I do normally is either use a very fine sandpaper or a Brillo pad, and I go perpendicular to the path that I'm going to be calling. So for instance, when I call with a slate, I try to go down with my clucks, and I do small circles with the yelps, and then when I do the purrs, it's just a very slow drag from top to bottom, which I then do a small circle as well and come back up on, and that sets me up for doing the clucks as well. So as I said, I'll just take my sandpaper, go across, just so that I get the whole surface nice and rough. Now there's various strikers that you can use. This is a plastic one that came with originally the Quaker Boy call. I've over the years bought some different ones, whether it be ash or maybe there's an oak. I saw there's cherry. There's a different type of plastic. I like to carry different strikers with me because it can make different tones. This plastic one has a nice rasp to it. This one here that actually came with the purple haze, I believe, gives a nice rasp. However, the other plastic and I think this ash really dulls it down to where it's not near as raspy and not near as high pitched. And I'll maybe just show you as an example so that you can see that. But what I want to do first is just go over how to do a simple cluck. And again, all I'm doing is I hold my striker somewhat similar to how I hold a pencil, but I have it resting across my middle finger. I have my index and my thumb helping to guide, and then if I want to be loud, I'll keep my palm and hand off the backside of the slate. If I want to tone it down some, I'll try to cushion it and cover it up some so that it can sound quieter. And with just a simple cluck, all I'm going to do is put it on the slate and just do a drag. And it's just a simple little drag. Just got to get your angle and the pressure right. Now with it, I'll just drop down and then I'll come back up. And you can work all the way down the call if you want. Now one thing you can notice is in the center, it's a little bit deeper sounding on the slate. As you move to the outside, it gets higher pitched. Don't know if you can hear that difference. So by changing your calling location on the slate, you can also change the tone. So again, this is just the simple cluck. So next is the yelp. With the yelp, what I do is I just do small circles, and generally it's more of, in my mind, I sit there. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing a tree yelp, which I tell you what, I'll go ahead and do the tree yelp first. It's very soft, just a few calls to let the gobbler know I'm here. I haven't flown down yet, but I'm just waking up, and before long I'll do my fly down cackle, let's say, and fly down to the ground. So here's to me is just a tree yelp, and generally I combine it with a few clucks. Again, just very soft, just a few circles to make those yelps, and that's the tree yelp. Now, if I wanted to do a standard yelp at the bird's on the ground, or maybe it's after I've already done some tree yelps, which I'll be honest, generally I'll do some light tree yelps and then I shut up. I generally don't want to call too much when the bird is still in the tree. If that gobbler is firing off, he already knows where I am when I sound off to him. If I call too much, especially if maybe I'm on public land, then he's gobbling, announcing to other hunters where he is and could be bringing them in. Not to mention also, generally the gobbler is wanting the hens to come to him. So if I keep him sounding off on that roost, he's going to be bringing in more hens that could easily just intercept him from me. So here's what I'll do. It's louder, is just my standard yelp when they're on the ground. Throw in some clucks. So again, all I'm doing is just small circles. I adjust the speed, but I'm trying to get the certain tone coming down, and I'm trying to get a different tone coming back up. Listen one more time. And that's just the yelp. Now what I'll do next is I'll go over the fly down cackle. So with the fly down cackle, normally with it you get a few clucks, and then there's this rapid series of clucks as the bird is coming off the limb, pitching, and then hitting the ground. And then there's a period of silence in there. And then once the bird hits the ground, maybe there's some clucks, maybe some yelps that also go into it. But it's that excited that is simulating the hen flying down off the roost. So we'll give it a shot here. Series of clucks, and then I speed it up into the fly down. All right, let's try that again. So again, series of clucks, and then build that up into that excited fly down clucks. So that's the fly down cackle. The next thing I'll go over is a purr. And again with it, all I'm doing is starting at the top. I'm doing a slow drag down, circling back up, slow drag down. Now if you're ever out in the woods, you'll hear that when the gobblers and the hens, or even if it's just a group of hens, flock of hens feeding, they're very quiet, just some very soft purrs and clucks as they're feeding along. It's again just a call that says, hey, everything's fine, we're all comfortable, we're feeding, there's nothing that's got us spooked. So here's the purr. Now what I like to do though is I like to mix in some clucks to try to make it more realistic. So it's maybe a purr, 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 cluck, purr, purr, cluck, purr. So that's the purr. Again, it's kind of like the yelp for me at least. I do the circles. It's more slow, or it's slower. It's more drawn out. So I'm trying to get it to get that little hop as it's going down the call. So I like to do it at times too. I'll go ahead and mix in some of the others that I showed you together, whether it be purrs, clucks, and yelps perhaps. So that's how I kind of put those together. Now, one of the things for me I like to do generally is what I call cutting. So I'll do the soft tree yelps when the gobbler's in a tree, let them know that they have identified that they're responding to me, they know where I am, and I'll shut up. Once they hit the ground, depending on the distance or if I think some other hens have maybe moved in, I'll maybe just do some soft yelps, maybe purrs, just to again try to do that last little bit of pull in. Otherwise, if I really want to get the bird hot when they're on the ground or maybe they're hung up, I'll get into some cutting. And really cutting is just more fast clucks with maybe some yelps cut in and then break out of the yelp right back into some fast clucks. And let me give you an example. So that's just some cutting. I like to bring those fast clucks in. It's that excited call, really can get the gobbler going. And then, you know, if I get him firing back where he's hammering through that series, I'll tone it down. Maybe in a little bit, I'll give him a little soft yelp. But anyways, those are some of the basics. Fly down cackle, the cluck, the purr, and cutting that I use for some of my basic calls on a Slate. Now again, what I'll do real quick here is I'll show you same kind of similar thing just to give you a little bit of tone difference of the glass versus the Slate, and I'll show you a difference here with just some of the strikers and a little bit between just the calls themselves. So here's the same striker on glass, and I'll flip it over and do it on Slate. So I'll take the same striker and go over here on this purple haze again, just to prep it. Just take some sandpaper or Brillo pad across the face. And to me, I think this one has a completely different sound. Same striker. So big difference just between the Slates. That's why for me I started carrying the second one as well, even though I do have the Slate and the glass to get a little bit of tone. But what I'll do is I'll show you some difference here just between a couple of these strikers real quick. So here's the plastic that came with the Quaker Boy. Here's the one that actually came with this Purple Haze by Primo's. As I said, it's still raspy and loud. And then I'll dull it clear down with this plastic. A lot less raspy, got rid of a lot of that high pitch. So give it a try. Practice making these different calls with the Slate. Use some different strikers, and I think you'll find that it's a great call to have on you out in the turkey woods, and might just help pull in that gobbler with having all that flexibility of changing the tone with Slate, glass, different strikers, maybe even a different Slate as well. It might just do what you need to pull them in. So I hope you found that helpful. If you do, please subscribe, like the channel, ring that bell, and I'll have some more information coming out on other videos as well, on a series of box calls, push-pull calls, and diaphragm calls, as well as all kinds of other content that is involved with the outdoors. So hope you enjoyed it. Again, thanks for joining me. My name's Chris Ashley, and we'll catch you next time.